it kind of doesn't matter when you can when you can go back and edit it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
but
you
I
could
mean,
just
it just makes it easier.
You could just stack stuff. You know, it's Audacity. It's a free program. It works so good. I don't know why anyone uses anything else. I don't think they do.
The only thing that Audacity is good for is like 3 things. Professional DJing.
Is it?
Doing a podcast.
Okay.
Vaporwave.
Oh yeah, you've made some vaporwave.
Yeah, you make vaporwave on Audacity. You can turn.
Do you remember?
You can make the national anthem of Vapor Nation on Audacity.
You just take that Diana Ross song and you just slow it down a little bit.
No, you have to slow it down 32%.
Specifically, oh man.
Specifically 32%, and then you chop that bitch up.
Do you think that 32 has something to do with the Kabbalah?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say like you 32 degrees, and then you shuffle it. No, who are we and what are we doing?
Okay. Hello, everybody. I gotta not yell so loud. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Whole Rabbit.
No, you gotta talk like you're on NPR. Really close to the mic and very monotone. Very...
Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Luke Madrid, featuring co-host.
Featuring what? I'm what? You're trying to fire me? I see how it is.
You gotta talk softly in the mic right now.
No, dude.
What's your name?
No, I'm Andrew Haskins, man.
He's the other host guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the glasses and mustache show. What are we talking about today?
It's The Whole Rabbit, you know, where we don't just buy the rabbit some Doreen Virtue Oracle cards of Ascended Masters and shuffle it once or twice and then tell it that Yogananda is in its spiritual energy vortex. Fuck no! We dissect its spiritual anatomy kabbalistically, initiating it through the different gateways of divine consciousness, upward on its ascent towards the Godhead. What? We're talking about tarot today.
Wait, you said something about ascending to Godhead. Most people would assume that, like, tarot's about divination and fortune telling and scamming people out of money and shit, right?
Well,
Who's with me? Show hands.
Okay.
Show hands.
We ran into one of your buddies
you
on
in
this.
the back.
We were going to the Habit, and we ran into one of your buddies. Then he was like, "What are you doing tonight?" We're like, "Oh, we're gonna go read tarot at the local bar."
No, it was tarot at the tavern tonight. It was that night, so it was tonight. At that point, so you know.
And he
it
was
just
like, "Oh,"
rolls off the tongue.
But he was like, "Oh, so you're just gonna like fleece people for their money and like be hucksters and just tell them whatever they want to hear and just make shit up off the tip of your asshole?" I was like, I was kind of offended. Remember, I shouldn't have been so hurt, but I was like, ow, this guy's ow.
Well, yeah, that's just Dennis. Dennis is like, he's in his own little world, like his own little fucking world. Like, I'm trying to tell him about, like, Shaolin Kung Fu, and he's like,
Kung Fu's full of shit.
And now he's learning, like, Wang Chung from, like, some obese guy.
And then,
who did choreography for Avatar.
But then, like, 2 seconds later, he's like, yeah, I'm into D&D.
Yeah, dude, he's like, a total, like,
okay.
He's just... I don't know what makes people think like they're cooler than other people, but like they like are hardcore into D&D. Like you don't get to say you're cooler than anybody when you're into D&D. You'd be like, I'm just like,
listen,
I'm into playing lame games.
The
like
point
D&D.
is
I'm a weeb.
We are such tarot nerds that we get picked on by D&D nerds. That's what we're really trying to say right now. We, out of all the things we study and know about magic, I would rank tarot pretty fucking high on that list. Like, I don't usually boast or brag, mainly to save it for a time when
honestly,
I need to
like,
or want to.
This is the time, dude.
This is the time. We have
to actually show our credentials, because we're gonna use this episode to reference and be like, look, we're just gonna say, yo, this tarot card's in this movie when we're analyzing it.
Like, I've messed with some demons and some angels and some stuff, but like, I study tarot regularly and fuck with that shit like every day. Like for 10, 11 years now. So I want to tell a quick story about how I got my tarot deck. Because it's probably the one, it's like, okay, if you made a character sheet of me as a magician, you would see very clearly that I'm like a divinator. Like my skill with the cards is much greater than any other skill I have in my magic arsenal. And it's probably because of my mom. I have when I was a little kid, she gave me the Rider-Waite tarot deck wrapped in an orange piece of silk. And she was like, this is the color that the Dalai Lama and Sai Baba wears when they do their healing, and it's symbolic of spiritual power or something, right? That was at least the implied. And I didn't learn until much later there's this superstition where you're not supposed to buy your own first tarot deck. It's supposed to be given to you, or you have to steal it, basically.
Okay, so my first tarot deck, I straight up stole that bitch from a Barnes and Noble.
Like, I don't remember this. Sorry.
Like, here's the funniest. Okay, so I was up in Fresno, right? And like, I just jacked this shit from a Barnes and Noble because like it's getting into magic and shit. I'm like, oh cool, get a tarot deck, right? They're fucking cool, and I'm like, the Thoth deck looks fucking rad. And so like, I just jack a Thoth deck, and like, I ditched the box. And then I realized that, like, oh, I ditched the little booklet that's in the box. And I'm like, fuck.
So you're like, oh, here, I have the Thoth deck.
Yeah, I have the Thoth deck, and I don't know what the cards mean.
This is, like, before smartphones, or before you had one?
Yeah, the smartphones came out 2007.
Do you have a smartphone now?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Nah, I'm pretty Luddite, but, like, I get some fucking tech, eventually.
You're fucking Amish, bro, sometimes.
You're Amish. I got the tech. The highest form of technology, that's like, I'm already composed of that.
This dude has clocked like 500 hours in Kerbal Space Program on a PlayStation 4. I don't think there's any other person in the world that has played on the PlayStation 4 as much as he has.
There's people who make money off of playing PlayStation 4. Get the fuck out of here. Well, if I could make money off of it.
Maybe you should. You should stream yourself playing it. Anyway, okay.
Anyway, so I was like
tarot.
I was 14, and then I went back, and then I had to steal the booklet out of another box of.
You had to steal tarot twice?
No, well, I had to steal the booklet. So like, I left a fucking tarot deck without a booklet. So like, I don't know. It seems kind of funny.
And so then
in hindsight.
So that person who got that tarot deck had to bring back the fucking tarot deck to the store and be like, the booklet's missing, and then the owner of the store had to open up another fucking tarot deck and pull that bitch out.
Oh shit, I started a chain that never ends. I'm a fucker, dude.
You know somebody got a free tarot deck out of this whole thing.
Yeah.
And one of them was you, and another one was the other person, and I guess the store owner bought both.
I guess the store owner ate the freaking charge.
So Thoth is, well, Thoth is a trickster, right? Like Mercury, he's associated with Mercury, and Mercury's a trickster. Do I have fire?
Do you have fire? Do you have fire? Thoth is a trickster, right? And like, tricksters, like, they're sometimes playful. Yeah, man.
Are you making fun of me? You're the stoner.
Yeah, but you're soft and weak.
I fucking like that bowl.
Oh, that's hard.
All right, so tell us your...
Today's episode is brought to you by Banana Kush.
Tell us your...
Or Banana OG, sorry, Banana OG.
Tell us your tough... ultra masculine Chad version of the tarot then, Andrew.
Alright, so like, you need to stop with your Jingo, Django, Chimchol, Shrew. Like, I'm gonna read you your future tiddly fucks, right? That's not what the tarot is. It's like a roadmap of the soul, right? It's like a distillation of Western psychology, It's like how we think, right? Right. Yeah, that's my ultra masculine version of it. I'm a cockney bitch.
Well, you got the bitch part right, that's for sure.
What is tarot? All right, tarot is like I was saying, it's a distillation of the Western psychology. It's sort of like how we think or how our soul works, and it's been fucking put down into a picture book of 78 cards. They're divided into two distinguished groups. One's the major and one's the minor arcana. And arcana is just the word arcane means old. So like the arcana is like, think about that for a minute. Like, what would that be? If arcane is old, what's arcana? It's just the old shit.
Well, okay, that's because back in the day, they were pretty sure, or at least there were rumors being spread that the tarot went back to ancient Egypt. That was a rumor pretty much proliferated by Antony Court de Gebelin. I can't say these names.
Gebelin.
And that was like right around the time America signed the Constitution. So like 1773, he published a book asserting that the cards were the condensed wisdom of the Egyptian Book of Thoth. And that sentiment has kind of echoed ever since. Like if you study the tarot now, you're going to read Crowley's Book of Thoth.
The Thoth tarot deck.
He has the Thoth tarot deck. So that sentiment that he put forth is just sort of echoed. And it really wasn't long. That didn't happen long after another French esotericist named Etea published a book on cartomancy and first made the relationship between the deck of cards and them as a method of divination, basically. She was the one that put those two things together because before like the 1770s, there was no association between tarot and divination. And this esotericist is the one that coined the phrase major and minor arcana. So it was like around the time of the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Because it used to be a game just called tarot.
Yeah.
And on the term cartomancy, it sounds so cool. Like, that sounds like Yu-Gi-Oh! And freaking Cardcasters kind of nonsense. Sounds like some stupid anime shit.
Well, like, I think it was a she. And the name, when I heard it, sounded like Nutella, but it's Atea. And I hope it's a she, because I'm just going to say she.
Was this the same time that somebody was developing the Ouija board?
I think that was a little later. I don't remember. Unlike some other podcasts, which seem to remember every fucking thing they ever say, which I can't.
Well, they have sponsors.
Yeah, man.
We just
give
have
us some money, and we will remember things.
Yeah,
but
money equals memory.
Yeah,
and speech.
You know, $100 really makes you remember things.
Oh yeah, and if we can get like $150 from our patrons, we can rent out a studio.
Patreon.com/thewholerabbit. Become a subscriber today. $5. Just do it. Come on, man. Help us out. Okay. About 100 years earlier, there was the Tarot de Marseille deck, and that's when the Major Arcana got thrown in, basically. And that was first published by another French person named Noblet. I don't know how to say these names once again. If you can find further back that the cards themselves that we associate with like playing cards, the 4 suits and the 3 court cards, the like traditional playing deck that we are familiar with without the Major Arcana. Oh,
and they also minus one of the court cards from each suit.
Right. But that's like a normal playing deck.
Yeah, that's the
because there's no princess and there's no page in a normal playing deck of cards. So that normal playing deck of cards basically comes from a thing called the Zera's Mamluk deck, and we can source that back to like the 1300s when it came over into Spain from Arabia, basically.
Yeah, from the Mamluks.
The Mamluks, yeah. And they...
Didn't you ever play freaking Total War?
Not enough.
Any of the iterations? The Mamluks were cool.
You have a little bit better understanding of that part of history than I do. But the original deck of cards is really ornate. Let me see if I can find a picture for you.
Oh yeah, it looks like Muslim tile work.
Yes, exactly.
That's the cool part about. That's like the only good part about Islam is the tile work.
You're such a hater, man.
Oh,
there's lots of good things about.
There's lots of believe I'm a hater.
There's lots of good things and lots of really bad things about all those religions, man. So
yeah,
I'm only gonna half agree with you.
I don't want to get into it right here, but there's all sorts of reasons to not like and.
Well, sure, fine. Okay, well, here's the cool thing about that deck, though, is it sort of brought that aesthetic from the Islamic world into Europe, and you can see how much of an influence it had on European culture.
Oh, we just eat shit up, dude. We love foreign stuff.
I'm not European. I'm an American, man.
Well, but you're Western.
Sure.
Western is xenophilic.
Yeah, especially in America.
Eastern xenophobic.
If you're gonna go stereotypes, yeah. I mean, America is definitely xenophobic. It used to be totally xenophobic.
Dude, no. America used to be isolationist.
Yeah, isolationist. Totally. Non-interventionist.
We didn't even like to talk to the people we knew. You know, like we didn't like to talk to the people who look like us. You know, we were isolationists.
We've
you
always
know?
gotten into wars over false flags, though. That's just part of our history. But that's another episode entirely. But yeah, so the actual deck of tarot cards became a thing in France around the Declaration of Independence in the United States.
Somehow
and,
this became the history one.
Well, no, we have to tell some history. There has to be some.
Yeah, it's just been dry, just a little dry. During this time, everyone's been trying to like. And here's the funny thing about tarot is like it may or may not have esoteric roots.
Basically,
It may or may not have mystical significance. It may or may not be legitimate or not. But goddamn, have we like put a lot of stuff into it?
Oh, absolutely,
over the
we
years.
have. You know, I found some interesting information about why it may be so mysterious.
Dude, you know what's really mysterious? Like, I'm at such a point that, like, I give people tarot readings and they end up crying. And it's kind of disturbing because, like, sometimes it's happy, sometimes it's sad, but, like, damn, dude, and it's just, like, I'm sick of making girls cry.
Basically, yeah, history shows that it got associated all this, like, special esoteric meaning to it. Probably a little bit because of, like, Orientalism or, like, oh, these people from the desert, they must have the magic.
It's classicism. Like everything that's older must be better.
Right. Or if it's from a faraway eastern land, it must be more magic.
Yeah.
But then again,
more
man,
magical or more wisdom or some stupid shit like that.
Those desert magi just have that reputation, probably because of shit like the Abramelin, right?
Yeah, because they're just weirdos who live out in the desert.
Like, this show has definitely shown why it has that reputation. On the original Mamluk deck that came from the Mamluks, with its very intricate and beautiful Islamic art, each friggin' card had these little blue sections on the tops and the bottoms that had little aphorisms and enchanting phrases. So, like one of them said, and they would always rhyme, but the English translation is like, with the sword of happiness, I shall redeem a beloved who will afterwards take my life. O thou who hast possessions, remain happy and thou shalt have a pleasant life. Let it come to me because acquired good is durable. It rejoices me with all its utility. And it just has like these weird, enchanting, pleasant phrases on each deck. So you could see how originally when you had this, it's like a deck of playing cards with these weird, pleasant phrases on it. I would imagine if you're playing with a deck of cards and like chances involved, and you have these interesting like
dude, it just sounds like Yu-Gi-Oh and shit. Like you're like, haha.
Right, but it also has like this fortune cookie feel to it.
Yeah. You just read the fortune cookie after you play the card, and you just gotta trust in the heart of the cards.
It seems really friggin' obvious that like there was like from the very beginning there was a weird divinatory, magical, enchanting thing going on when you played with these cards. It seems obvious to me.
Yeah,
and so that feeling has never, ever, ever, ever left the deck, ever. Even when you're playing with it in a casino, it's like, oh, what could happen? Like, could I win everything? Like, could I lose everything? It's like, it's got all that spirit in it, basically.
Yeah, it's got chance spirits chance.
Fortune.
Chances.
Fortuna. All right, so Eliphas Levi is the one who first associated the 22 major arcana to the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet.
Yeah, so he just added those. He's like, oh, there's 22 of those, there's 22 of these. Let's do it. Here you go.
And I was so attracted to this book when I got into the Theosophical Library because it's this purple book and it says Rituals and Dogma of Ceremonial Magic, and that's where the illustration of the Baphomet comes from. I'm pretty sure that's where so I must have read this book like 2 or 3 times. Like, this is one of the few occult texts that I've read, and it just turns out that the guy who wrote Rituals and Dogmas of Ceremonial Magic maybe did like one ceremonial ritual in his whole life, I guess, and it scared the shit out of him, supposedly. And he wrote all this stuff about the devil and the astral light and blah 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 blah, and I read all that. Hooey, dude, I'm a little bitter, but I also did really enjoy it. So,
dude, he only did one ritual, like. Dude, I got eventually we're going to have to do episodes that's just us talking about the rituals we did, like, step by step.
People really like that stuff, but for some reason, I don't really, it seems a little bland to me.
I don't see why you get off on that. I like doing that with, like, my rituals. I like doing that with, like, my acid trips. I like doing that shit. I like talking about what I experience and sharing that with people.
Robert Bonomo.
I get off on that.
Oh, well, sure, man. A lot of people do. Robert Bonomo is the guy who did the 21 Faces of God documentary. You can find on YouTube for free. It's amazing. It's all about the tarot. And he makes the assertion that there's probably a connection between Catharism and the tarot, because alchemy was kind of a thing also at that time. And it seems to suggest that the tarot has always been rich with mysticism and magic, even if the standardized systems didn't come till later with Mathers and Crowley, right? And then when it gets to the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in the 1880s, you got A.E. Waite, which I guess they referred to as dead weight after he died, which is kind of funny.
Dude, they had it standardized down to like every color schemes. Like these cards should be these colors. Yes.
It still is like that. That's still the system we use and study. That's what we're going to talk about today.
We are the Golden Dawn. We know what we're doing. You cannot get hypnotic and experience the shit you are trying to do. You must take an oath. An oath. Yes, oaths. That's what we do. We are British. We're like turn of the century British.
Give me all your possessions. And also your curry. I'll take your fine curry.
Yeah, you'd probably be a twit if you were English.
They're the original Imperials.
Dude, you'd be a
posh... That's why the Imperials talk that way in Star Wars. Brilliant.
You'd be a posh twit.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because there would be... I mean, that's why I'm an American, dude.
Yeah.
So I like to drive fast, and I don't like to blow shit up. I don't want to say that on air. No. In the context of when I was a kid in space camp, we got to launch a lot of rockets, and that entailed blowing shit up because sometimes the launches didn't go well. And as you can tell, I'm a space nerd because we talk about Kerbal Space Program. Please don't escalate me any higher on the watch list than I already am. Thank you.
Dude, that's the only reason why I don't like England is because they dropped their space program. They're the only ones who had the capability. And then they dropped it. They're fucking air.
Yeah, we rule the fucking skies, Andrew.
Yeah, I know. We're fucking Space Force.
Fuck yeah. Dragon, Set, Apollo, Gemini. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Eagles, spiders. We fuck your shit up. American Space Program, motherfuckers.
Spiders. Fucking eagle spiders.
You want to see me get all weird and patriotic? Let's talk fucking space program. We started the space program. We started the space race when we broke the fucking sound barrier.
All right, wait.
Yuri Gagarin was not the first, okay? Fucking.
All right.
We did that shit.
Dude, Alex Jones would start going off.
Okay, anyway. So what is the tarot? It was 30 minutes in. If you've gotten this far, man, you're ready for the knowledge. Okay, the tarot.
Yeah, we send the clips. The clips of the show are going to be fucking...
The tarot is the picture book of the Kabbalah, basically.
What is the Kabbalah? Go back and watch your episode about the Kabbalah.
This is one episode where, we have to basically say, go back and watch what the fuck is Kabbalah.
Or read a ton of books.
Or read a ton of books about Kabbalah. But in short, the Kabbalah is like two cubes that are stacked on top of each other. You've got an upper cube and a lower cube, basically. An upper world and a lower world. If you look at it on a diagram, on a piece of paper, it basically looks like... What does it look like, Andrew? It's just like 10 circles connected by lines.
It looks like a Kabbalah tree.
It's a kabbalistic tree of life.
It looks like a fucking... Like something you'd see on some douchebag's arm at a music festival. We all know it.
Okay.
We've all seen it.
So you start with Kether at the top, and then it moves like a lightning flash down through the different spheres, all the way down to Malkuth at the bottom. Kether meaning crown, Malkuth meaning the kingdom. And the idea is that the kingdom is in the crown, and the crown is within the kingdom. As above, so below.
Well, okay,
the material world is pure potential made manifest, and that God is immanent within its creation, you could say. And that God is within its creation, and the creation is within God. That's sort of the overall idea of Kabbalah, right? Or is that just so much to do? There's so much to do with Kabbalah.
You're given the end of the book in the synopsis.
Okay.
You're trying to
to
dip their toes into the water.
Okay, well that's important because the journey.
Gloss over this and get to the tarot.
Sure, because the journey of the tarot begins with the Fool, right?
Well, okay, you're gonna do the because
we can start with the Fool.
I disagree with the associations because we have to talk about. The Golden Dawn made the associations, right, with the paths, right? Okay,
but just in general, though, the story of the tarot is the journey of the Fool, who becomes the universe, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a little bit like how in the top of the Kabbalistic Tree of Life you have Kether, which is the crown.
Yeah,
and then you have the world. Yeah, it's always been Wankersham. And then you have the world at the bottom. So the story of the tarot is the story of the Kabbalah, but it's in a picture anthropomorphized format that the human mind can understand. And you're anthropomorphizing forces and energies as they either descend from Godhead towards creation or as they ascend back towards Godhead.
And this is represented by serpents and doves in the whole Crowley Thelema fucking paradigm.
Right.
So if they're talking about serpents and doves, that's what they're talking about, is whether you're attaining the knowledge or delivering the knowledge to other people.
Very cool, actually.
Yeah.
I like that. The path of manifesting from Godhead to matter is the lightning flash, and the path of matter going back to Godhead is the path of the serpent in the Kabbalah. And so the journey in the Kabbalah works in both directions depending on how you're looking. The energy descends from general to specific, I guess you could say. Okay, what else could we say about the structure of the tarot that has to do with the Kabbalah? Okay, so there's 10 spheres on the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. Well, guess what? There's 10 cards in each suit.
Of the minor arcana.
Of the minor arcana. So what? You got a 1 through 10
you have an ace. There's no ones. There's no ones in a fucking deck.
It's the same thing, isn't it?
No.
Okay.
There are no ones. There's only
no
one.
ones.
There's only one in the entire tarot deck.
That's
and
the Magus?
Yeah, that's the Magus.
Oh, that's interesting to think about that.
Yeah. It's the only one.
That's pretty cool.
In every deck.
I like that. That's very cool.
Okay, so like everything else is an ace. There's no one of diamonds. It's a fucking ace.
Okay, but just so the way people think about things in their mind.
Yeah, they think
there's
of one,
10
but
spheres, okay? And then there's,
the ace corresponds with the first sphere,
Yes.
the crown Kether. So the
Yes.
ace is like the... Okay, are we in the weeds of...
That's what we're explaining. We're explaining tarot.
Are we getting into the weeds of the minor arcana at this point?
We're sort of explaining the structure of the tarot and how it relates to Kabbalah. So
Okay,
yeah, all
so-
the aces are in Kether, all the 2s are in Hakma, all the 3s are in Binah. Get it? All the way down to 10.
All right, and each suit is a different representation of the different trees in the different Kabbalistic world. So you have Absoluth, Bria, Yetzirah, and then Isaiah.
Now those 4 trees are like stacked on top of each other, and they're like recursive redundant fractals, and they're mirrors of each other. But most importantly, those 4 different worlds, they correspond to the 4 elements, which also correspond to the 4 suits of the cards. So on top, you have Absoluth, which corresponds to the wands or the fire suit. And then you have Berea, which corresponds to the water and the cups. And then you have Yetzirah, which corresponds to swords.
And then Isaiah.
And then Isaiah, which corresponds to
Did you forget Isaiah?
pentacles.
Did you forget about Isaiah?
No, I was trying to remember how much we had already talked about.
Okay.
And so Eliphas Levi associated those 4 suits with the 4 letters in the Tetragrammaton, or the Hebrew name of God, Yod He Vav He. And so
Which the heathens call Yahweh, because you can't pronounce it. You can't pronounce it. Is it an I? Is it a J? What sounds does Hebrew makes? There are no vowels.
there's a chart in the back of one of Lamau Duquette's books. I won't say
it's
which
funny.
because you should just buy them all.
It could be Yahoo.
Yeah, it could be Yahoo. He has a chart of all the different possibilities of how you could maybe pronounce Yod He Vav He, and Yahoo is one of them. It's really great.
Or Yahoo or some shit
There's-
like that.
there's-
It's funny shit.
There's
you
lots
know?
of ways you could pronounce it. So, but it was Eliphas Levi who first made that association between the Tetragrammaton and the 4 suits and the four letters in the name of God. So as you can see, it's sort of a recursive fractal, right? You've got a lot of redundancies going on already. That helps you keep track of stuff. And that's what makes it a filing cabinet for esoteric topics and ideas and states of mind. And so it becomes a language that you can use to discuss esoteric principles. And we use this system to decode symbolism in movies and, shit we like to talk about on the show. So there you go.
Now, for all you actual magicians out there, or people who are like aspiring magicians, who are like, oh, I saw like Yu-Gi-Oh! And I want to fucking like summon some shit out of some stupid cards, right? Some stuff like that, or like, card cast your kids. Real fucking old esoteric fucking nonsense animes that are probably terrible.
This is a real shit talking build up right here.
Okay, so the minor arcana has all these like astrological associations with each individual card through it. All the 2s through 10s, the aces are kind of like They're just like the seasons, I guess. But these astrological associations correspond with the energies of the card. So if you want to do like a spell or some sort of bullshit working with like, you know, what's going on in the actual astrology is you look at the card you want to happen and you wait for the time that you like that it's going on in the stars, like, you know, when the moon's in Taurus, you know, that's like corresponds with the 6 of discs, which is success or material success.
So there's
there's like you can formulate spells off of tarot cards. Like that is a possible thing. You can do that.
So yeah, once again, even I didn't follow entirely everything that you said right there. Kabbalistic Tree of Life and the tarot is a filing cabinet for all the things esoteric you could probably imagine. And well, that's one of the reasons why is because of that complicated Indra's net sort of web of associations. So yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like, okay, here's one thing I've heard discussed. See here on the Tree of Life how the connection between 7 Netzach and 6 Tifereth is the death card.
Yeah.
And the death card is associated with the Hebrew letter Nun, which means fish.
Yeah.
And it's associated with the Scorpio, right?
Yeah.
And so that tells a specific kind of story of like decay, of
ruddy fish smell.
Yeah, fish smell, which is fish only start to smell after they're dead. And from my own esoteric experience, the underworld, or when you die, you go into a watery womb. That's like Kali's womb, basically. And that fish have an association with pregnancy. So that's just my own personal tree of life there. And you have your own personal tree of life. You have your own meanings. So that's a card of like dissipation and release and letting go. Okay? So then let's go over here to 8 Achad, which is on the same plane, right? And it has a path also to Tifereth. Its path to Tifereth is...
Wow, we're getting way more into Kabbalah than we are in freaking tarot here.
Well, it's the same thing, man.
Dude, you have no idea, audience, how much he is right about this.
So, okay,
it is.
Let's just finish with this thing right here, okay? So you got this path from Achad to Tifereth, which is on mirrored the other side, which is a mirror of the other side we just looked at, and that path is the devil.
The devil.
And its Hebrew letter is Ayin, which means eye. So you have that association with like the Illuminati eye in the pyramid. And it's associated with Capricorn, the goat. And so you have a completely opposite sort of energy that leads to Tifereth on the opposite side, where on the side of death, it's all about dissipation and letting go to achieve Tifereth. And on the other side, it's all about scaling the mountain and achieving getting to the top of the mountain. So right there is encoded esoterically the 2 paths to the top of the mountain where you meet your holy guardian angel. You've got one path, the right-hand path, where you let go and you dissipate and you take vows of chastity and renunciation. And then the other path, you take vows of responsibility and like you dedicate yourself to your work and you achieve one step at a time through accomplishment towards the top of the mountain, through material accomplishment too. Instead of denying yourself the material world, you're made to conquer the material world. So right there, within the tarot and within the Kabbalah, there's a way to meditate about the 2 paths to the divine. And then in the middle, you have art, which is temperance and the blending of the 2. So you even have a third fucking option. And it just allows you to keep meditating on how you could either approach Godhead or how Godhead is manifesting down towards where you live.
Because here's the thing is everyone thinks there's like one tarot path, like one way that the tarot paths are associated.
So before we move on, what we've been talking about is basically how Aleister Crowley had modified what the Golden Dawn gave him, which is what Eliphas Levi gave them, which is what the Tarot de Marseille gave them.
So these are the associations that everyone's put on it.
That is pretty much the standard for today.
Yeah.
And Crowley did make additions and changes based on what he channeled in the Book of the Law. And he flipped around certain things, and I don't know we don't really need to go into detail on that. So to move on from that, one of Aleister Crowley's students,
Frater Achad.
You can talk about this if you
Yeah,
like.
yeah. So Frater Achad's pretty cool, and he has a bunch of workings. He has a bunch of books where he talks about a lot of the work he did with the Enochian system of John Dee, and we will do that episode.
But they did have a big blow up where Crowley and Achad just stopped getting along, right? They just, but for a while he was like his best student, right?
Yeah, so like Achad in his workings, he likened himself and Crowley to Horus and Set. Guess who's who? No. He's Set. He's Set. You know.
Yeah, and Crowley is the solar phallus all the way.
Yeah, he's a total dick. Anyways, so Frater Achad doing his work with the Enochians was given a different system, a different association, where he basically kind of flipped the script on the tarot paths and the associations. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to take the 3 mother letters, and they're obviously going to be the middle pillar. So you're going to have or Aleph, Mem, and Shin going up from Malkuth in that order to Kether. And then basically all the different associations, all the different astrological associations fit moving up the tree with what the different astrological associations are with the different spheres, as well as the cards.
Now, I looked over this once, probably like 7 years ago, and haven't looked at it again. But there were some compelling arguments he made that it could be a better tree. I don't use it because it's assumed that I'm going to use the traditional Golden Dawn tree, and I just stick to that. But I'm willing to hear, some of your thoughts. Like, I think that's pretty cool how the 3 mother letters, the Fool, the Hanged Man, and Judgment run along the middle pillar.
Yeah,
that makes some sense, right?
That's some good stuff, but all the other things are almost like a kid could describe it. It's like this planet has an association with Libra, and so its connection's gonna be there, and then like this planet's associated with Pisces, so it connects to that one, you know, and it's like this one's Venus, this one's Jupiter. It's like these are connected, and so all the different ones are, and they're also kind of connected by concept as well. And if from what I understood from my reading of Frater Achad, he described this layout of the tarot paths being about working your way up the tree. So the Golden Dawn tarot paths would be how God manifests the world. Achad's version is more of how the aspirant ascends the tree. And so each step is a level up.
Crowley would just scream that, like, the other tree it's already fine. You are not qualified to do shit. You are crazy.
No, because I got one. Because Aleph goes from Malkuth. And this is where I'm going to show how much of a tarot nerd I am. Okay, so Aleph goes to Malkuth. Okay, so Malkuth is the material world. It goes from Malkuth to Yesod, the dream world. So this is connected by Aleph, or the Fool. Now the Fool is constantly daydreaming. He's constantly in Yesod. He's always in Yesod. That's the problem with him. You know? He's never doing material bullshit. You know, always got pie in the sky fucking ideas and dreams.
And by like bathing yourself in your dreams, you may ascend to the light of Tifereth, and then, okay. And then what do we got? And then by the fire of the light of Kether, you would cross the abyss. Like, it makes some sense. Like, I get it.
Yeah. It's really simple stuff.
Do we want to talk about a little bit about the archetypes now, and then talk about
Luke, Bubala. Well, okay, fine. We can talk about the difference.
I mean, it's not going to take us that long to explain it. I mean, it's probably going to be a longer normal episode.
Have we gotten to the? Have we even scratched the surface of the major arcana? Like, have we even gotten into that?
Not really.
Yeah. So let's talk about the major arcana and the archetypes. Let's start off with number 1. Like in the major arcana. So these are the trump cards.
So let's tell
triggered.
Yeah, Trump 16 is also the Tower card, which isn't good.
Yeah, and Trump Tower. Yeah, the guy's a living tarot card. Guy had so many memes. Like, The one thing I thought was like Hillary had all this fucking corruption behind her. Sorry, we're getting political for a second.
And the association with the tower is Mars, which is like masculine male energy, and mouth.
Yeah, mem means, or not mem,
Pe.
but pe means mouth.
And also pe for Pepe.
Yeah.
Like there's a serious major Arcana association with Trump and the tower. So
yeah, so let's start it with number 0, the Fool.
let's just tell the story of the Fool. Let's kind of like zip along here.
Yeah. So like, okay, we can. The Fool's the easiest one to describe. The Fool's the Fool. The Fool's the court jester. The Fool is the comedian.
He's you. He's the one who's going through the deck.
Yeah, it's like the individual. It's the only real tarot card. Everything else is just describing the Fool. And it's kind of funny. But basically the Fool's like just goes and does his own thing, like not even giving a shit if he like succeeds or fails.
And his Hebrew letter is Aleph, which means ox. And its element is air. And its full title is The Spirit of the Aether. And it kind of represents idea, thought, spirituality, that which endeavors to rise above the material. We're getting this from Sex Magic, Tantra, and Tarot from Lon Duquette, who's the motherfucking expert at tarot. We really like this guy. But he has the low lowdown.
Yeah.
And then, so then what happens to the Fool next? What happens to the Fool next, Andrew? What does he become?
All right, so the Fool meets the Magician. The Magician is like a master of material reality. He can use his mind, the material, emotions, and his will to like create whatever reality he wants to do.
Because he's got the 4 elements on his table.
Yeah. The Fool has the 4 elements, but he doesn't know how to use them. Sometimes he gets effects, sometimes he doesn't.
They're all mixed up in his bag.
Yeah, so...
But after it's in his bag, he unfurls them onto the table, and he's kind of sorted through them, and that makes him...
Yeah, so this is the initiatory process. This is where the Fool starts aspiring to become the Magician, because the Magician masters all materiality, and he's basically initiated by the Magician into the craft.
His Hebrew letter is Beth. His full title is the Magus of Power.
It's a container, or house.
And his associations are skill, wisdom, mastery of the elements, adaptation, craft, cunning, sometimes occult wisdom. And so he's associated with the planet Mercury. And then what happens? And then you kind of run into the High Priestess after that.
Yeah, so the High Priestess is like... She's
priestess of the Silver Star.
She's that mystic bitch who can like look into the aether and shit and like rend the veil.
The divine vessel, change, alteration, increase and decrease, fluctuation. The archetypal vessel, the female counterpart of the universal will towards union, the supreme female image of the secret lover. So she's sort of like a vision of the divine, and her association is with the moon.
Yeah, it's a vision of the divine feminine.
Because there's sort of there's different elemental associations with these first 4 cards, I believe. There's like water. Okay, and then you run into Earth, which is the Empress next. Her association is with Venus, and she's associated with beauty, happiness, pleasure, success, luxury.
Yeah, so basically the Fool is going down and meeting all these different characters and goes from so all right, so this is the third one. This is the Empress.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Emperor, her counterpart.
Also, Empress, her Hebrew letter is Daleth, which means door. So you think of a goddess and then a door. It's probably referring to, a certain type of door. You know what I mean? Anyway, moving on. The Emperor, and then the Emperor is like the male counterpart.
The Emperor is kind of like the projection of male force in the physical world. Like these are the 2 sort of high sort of earthly, divine, masculine, and feminine. While the next card, the Hierophant, or the Pope, or...
Well, by the time we get to the Hierophant, you get this really interesting thing where the Magician has the moon, water, Venus, the earth, the mother, the Emperor, fire, and then he gets the Hierophant, which is the sword, the mind. So that sort of completes his table. And then it moves on to the lovers after that. So there's a story and a structure to the tarot that's just like, it's so replete through the whole thing. It's such a great magic tool to learn about shit.
Yeah, but the Hierophant and the Empress, or not the Empress, the Hierophant and the High Priestess.
Yeah, you put those 2 together, right?
Yeah. Now you have your religious fucking figures. So you have your 2 religious male and female figures, and then you got your 2 earthly male and female figures.
Right. You have the king and the queen.
You have authority
and then
represented.
And then you have the high priest and the high priestess.
Heaven and earth.
And then moving on from there, number 6 becomes the lovers. So the
You have a marriage.
You have a marriage of those forces, of those 4 elements, basically. And then that, of course, becomes the chariot, where the charioteer is holding the cup, and he, like, all those forces are commingled now.
This is like also the union of all the different forces that comprise yourself, so that you can like move forward. Because they'll just like rip you apart or like keep you stationary unless you like collect all your different. Because like the vision of the chariot is of like 4 cherubic beasts. And cherubic beasts mean basically you got like the different star signs that are like fixed signs. So you have like a bull, a freaking lion, an eagle, and a human faced like sphinx.
So yeah,
kind of thing.
And the charioteer has wed these different forces together to move his vehicle forward, like a pod racer.
Yeah, he's pod racing. Taro is the original pod racing.
And he's got a suit of armor like Darth Vader, right?
In that picture.
So Darth Vader would be the charioteer. He's ambitious as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And then after that, you get strength, or lust, as Crowley called it.
Yeah, so this is a good card because it was totally the tarot card that was depicted in Midsommar. Like, you remember Midsommar? The movie we reviewed?
Yeah, how so? Explain that real quick.
Oh, because like that was the main picture that was enacted by them of like the gentle bear and the May Queen.
Oh, you're right.
And like that was the whole thing, is like she could get anything she wanted, and like he could have just said no the whole time.
And this card's represented of courage, strength, fortitude, power not arrested, as in the act of judgment, but passing on to further action. So it's like it's passing judgment, but not like as a final thing. It's moving on. So that's basically what she did. It's like discarding the bear.
Moving on.
And then you've got the hermit.
All right, and we all know this picture. This is some Led Zeppelin shit.
Yeah, it's the Led Zeppelin cover.
Yeah.
We're skipping over some stuff, but we can't do everything. And
yeah, we gotta move.
We gotta move on. We got his Hebrew letters, Yod, and the hermit is somebody who like leaves society and gathers wisdom, of their own light, of their own way.
But the hermit doesn't just like search the night; he searches himself for that wisdom.
Right. And he moves outside of civilization. And so his Hebrew letter is Yod. Of course, that means hand. And it's sort of...
By this point, the fool has become the hermit, seeking the truth in the light. Like that's kind of the deal.
And then what happens here with the Wheel of Fortune? It sort of moves into a new dimension, right?
Yeah.
Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune is the point where like the revelation that the hermit was looking for at that point happens. And this is basically like your karma, your worldly karma, like the shit that like is gonna happen to you. Like this is your story arc. This is where it hits, is the Wheel of Fortune, which is almost like the most self-explanatory. But it's like the funniest one.
I think it's you're attaining to the spoke at the center of the wheel, and here's the association, the peace, which is the precursor to surrender. So it's when the hermit finally attains the vision of the Godhead, I guess you could say,
or the realization.
And then and then there's justice, which comes after that.
Well, the funniest thing before we move on too far, it's the Hebrew letter associated with
calf, palm of hand.
Palm of hand. This is
and then
just holding out your palm. This is like, oh, what does the world give you?
Oh, you're right. And then of course the last one was Yod, which meant hand. Which the hermit
is. So you have hand, and then you have the palm of the hand. What
the
you
open
receive.
hand.
Yeah, what you receive.
And then there's the next card is justice, which is more called adjustment in the Thoth deck, and it has to do with things like adjusting based on their natural balance. Finding their balance, basically.
And now you have
Libra,
Lamed, which is ox goad. So this is like you started with the ox. Now you have the ox goad, the Hebrew letter. But justice is a really, really potent card. This is what is truly right.
So you've attained some sort of power by your, I don't know, man. It's getting really esoteric at this point.
Yeah, this is the point where like you have to start living righteously.
Because after that, you got the Hanged Man, where you start to see the world as upside down, and you sort of subject yourself and surrender. Life suspended upon the water, voluntary but most often enforced sacrifice. The spirit of the mighty waters, Mem. And so that's the symbol of the Hanged Man with the 1 foot all funny.
Yeah, this is where you just stop trying.
It definitely tells a story, like an alchemical story, because the next step is death. So by hanging upside down, your ego is dissolved, like into a skeleton, like death. We already talked about the association between noon and fish, and the womb of time of ages. See, I said womb. Transformation, involuntary change, sometimes death and destruction, blah, blah. We already said that.
Yeah.
Then after that, you sort of get temperance or art.
This is alchemy. This is like straight up alchemy. This is like the most alchemical of all the alchemical cards. Like, it's a very, very weird card because most of the depictions of this card is of a angel mixing two cups. One's fire, one's water, and they're making light out of it, and it's really cool. And it's all about like the merging of two opposites and then switching their properties.
Which is funny because so far the initiates only learned about renunciation, because that's what the last few cards have been about. It's been about the Hangman, Justice, and the Wheel, and the Hermit, and learning to surrender, right?
Yeah.
But then you kind of get the Ox Goad over here in Justice, and then you're supposed to like do something now that all that's dissolved, and then you end up with the Devil, which is like the opposite of what we talked about.
Well, the Devil also has to do with being able to see the prisons we build around us. Your job may be able to provide you food and shelter, but it also gives you self-imposed responsibilities. Like the whole idea of the devil in most of the depictions where you have a man and a woman, just like in the Lover's card, but they're like devilish or fiendish, and they have like chains around them, but the chains are big enough to where they can get out at any time they want.
And yeah, it does look a lot like the Lovers.
Yeah, and it's one of these things where it's like it's like the opposite force of this. It's sort of like, oh, this is what we bind ourselves to for the benefits of.
So it's sort of like the lovers who got together because it was so innocent and fun have now like run the course and gone through all the bullshit, and now they're basically staying together for their kids.
Yeah, that can be an interpretation of it, and then the next card is about the end of that and the destruction of it.
The Tower.
Yeah, because once you realize the prisons you've created for yourself, now it's about the destructions of it. Because, like, you gotta destroy some shit to build some shit. You gotta, like, tear up some earth if you want to lay down a foundation. Like, that just has to happen.
So you start to see the world upside down, and then you die to the world, and,
then you destroy
through
your creation.
And through all your works. And then, so once the tower is destroyed, you have like the clear open night sky of the star, which reflects, the heavens above in perfect reflection. And it's a vision of hope and renewal.
Because it's usually depicted as a woman with two vessels. One she's pouring on water, like replenishing a well, and one she's pouring on land, replenishing the earth. So one she's replenishing the emotions, and the other she's replenishing and nourishing the material. So she's like working towards the future. Then we move to the moon, which, like, let's face it, we can never can't pinpoint the moon. Can't pinpoint the moon.
It's the mystery of the mysteries.
Yeah, it's the mystery card.
In a reading, it usually implies like the person is going through some really dark shit that will inevitably lead to the dawn, but it's always darkest before the dawn, and sometimes it can mean like somebody's lying to you. Here in the book it says it's the ebb and flow of life, dissatisfaction, voluntary change, as opposed to death.
Yeah.
Error, lying, falsity, deception. And then it's also like menstrual fluids, the cycle of disappointment, which leads again to everlasting life. So it's kind of like I guess relating the dissatisfaction to the menstrual fluid. It's like, well, we didn't make a baby, so I guess we got to get rid of all the stuff we prepared for the, get ready again. The constant cycle. The thing that like life destroys in order to create again. It's the darkness before the light or whatever. And then the sun. The sun comes and it's like there's light. But then once there's light, there's the judgment.
No, okay, so the sun, before we get too far, because it's a good card. It's all about freedom. It's about enjoyment. It's about being able to get naked. Like, so naked that you just want to run around naked.
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like, it's the kind of awesome feeling that you just want to be naked in. And you want other people to be naked and enjoy that feeling with you.
Glory, gain, riches, sometimes also arrogance, display, sometimes vanity.
Yeah. And it's about like being
Midsummer.
It's about being able to like leave the boundaries of society, but being able to get back into them when you need them. Like when it gets dark, you don't want to be out there in the dark naked.
If you get the sun card for your card of the day, it's gonna be a nice day for you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's just like everything is wonderful and sunny and bright. Here it says in the book, it's the radiant image of the holy guardian angel. It's, I don't know. That's what happens after the darkness is the dawn. But then once there's the dawn, there's all this light, and then there's the judgment. So the final decision, the sentence, determination of a matter without appeal on its plane.
Or the Aeon. It could be the Aeon card.
The Aeon, yeah.
Could be. You never know. All right. What's the last one? What's the last card?
The world or the universe, where the fool becomes the universe. So it seems like he makes some sort of final decision or some final judgment. Or he comes to there's something that happens here.
Well, okay.
Because it says the Holy Ghost descends upon the Grail. So like that means the spirit fully comes down to meet the initiate. You know, there's some sort of thing that's like, I choose you, Pikachu.
Yeah, God's like, I choose you.
You know, I don't know. There's something like that happens, and then the fool becomes.
Well, okay, so in the universe, or the world, when it says that, it doesn't mean like, oh, the physical universe. It literally means like every goddamn thing in the world, like all your thoughts, all your emotions, everything you want and will, all the bullshit on TV, like all the crap on the radio, the freaking sweatshop where your clothes were made in India. You know, it's everything. It literally means every goddamn thing.
So I think that's the state where the fool becomes one with the universe, and the universe becomes one with the fool, and there's like, you know, attainment attained and all that. The great one of the night of time, the final reabsorption of life, combined with the fool, the essence of the secret lover ritual.
Yeah, and at this point, that fool becomes the magician for the next fool.
Yeah.
So, like, when somebody calls you a fool, it's like, okay.
I'm on my way.
Yeah, initiatory. You know, it's like, I guess it's begun.
And, like, in short, like, then...
We gotta wrap this up.
Yeah, then the minor arcana are sort of like the day in, day out things that you deal with along your fool's journey.
But that's another episode. We'll talk about the minor arcana, because that's like an hour. That's an hour plus of an episode.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a Patreon only episode of going through the minor arcana.
Slogging through the minor arcana.
Yeah, because we are like an hour 10 right now. That's our episodes. Yeah, because the wands represent intuition. The cups.
Don't tell them the freaking.
This is sample
post-production.
The cups are feelings. The swords are reasoning, and the discs are the sensory world of material matter. And I guess we'll talk about that more in the minor arcana episode.
You don't tell them the freaking.
I wanted to talk about
post-production stuff.
But well, okay. I guess on that episode we'll also talk about determining your root symbol. So if you got and your root symbol and your personal symbol are fucking important. I just discovered what mine meant today while I was researching for the episode. Wow. So yeah, that's going to be our next subscribers only episode. We're going to be talking about the minor arcana and learning how to figure out your own association, because you have a major arcana card, you have a court card, and you even have a minor arcana card that associates to your karma, which if you know, you can work through your karma faster and get to the fun side, get to the light, get to the sun part of the fool's journey a little bit quicker. So with that in mind, we hope you enjoyed this ultra fucking nerdy episode about tarot. I'm Luke.
Oh, I'm the other guy. A mustache.
And eat carrots, shoot lasers. Eat carrots, shoot lasers. Eat carrots, shoot lasers.